How's it going, everyone? As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. This is Deck Ready, my channel all about the Steam Deck. Still dealing with this cold. My voice is shot. It's the weirdest cold ever because I didn't feel like run down or fevery. I just had a bunch of boogers that went into my throat and destroyed my voice. So hopefully I heal up soon so I don't sound like an idiot in these videos. In today's video, we've got two topics to cover, starting out with a new leak of the Steam Controller 2 that's kind of giving me hope that we will see the Steam console this year. And after that, we're going to talk about how Sony just made one of their best games work even better on the Steam Deck. Before I jump into it all, I've got two big requests for you guys. First of all, subscribe, set your notifications to all. Second of all, I activated the Deck Ready Twitter once again, and I've been going crazy on X. So if you want to talk Steam Deck over there, follow me. It's linked in the description. Maybe it's definitely linked on the channel, so it's easy to find, but it's deck_ready. But with that out of the way, let's get into the first topic here. So Valve allegedly is releasing a new VR headset soon, and like, I'm excited for that. I just need to know how much it costs because I'm not going to spend $1,000 on something that I'm barely going to use, because that's exactly what happened with my Meta Quest 3, guys. I bought it. I played like 3 games on it. I had so much fun. I was like, I'm going to use this thing like crazy. It has been sitting on my tool chest over there for a full year. I don't even know if it turns on anymore. I did see they updated the operating system, so I might check it out, but I've just been down this road before. That is the third Quest that I've bought. I bought the Quest 1, I bought the Quest 2 like an idiot, and then I bought the Quest 3 like an even bigger dumbass. So like, I probably am going to be an idiot and buy whatever this Valve headset is, but we all know what we really want is a Steam Deck console, right? Like the whole idea of the Steam Deck being this great device that you can take your games on the go with, and then your saves will transfer the next time you're on the internet, and then you can jump right on your regular old gaming PC and play the exact same games from exactly where you left off, is the dream of the future, because Steam is a great platform. You don't have to pay for online. The save transferring is also free. Games are generally cheaper. It's a very open, consumer-friendly platform that I like engaging with. So it would be awesome to have a Steam console to go along with it, but what they really need is a controller. The Steam Controller 2 has been worked on for a long time. Sadly, it's Bradley on Twitter is like the greatest source ever, because every time they do a backend update on Steam, or they update something with like, I don't know, Dota 2 or whatever they're doing with Steam VR, he digs through all the files like a little gremlin and finds references to Steam consoles, Steam headsets, and the Steam Controller 2. The full design is out there, and it's not going to blow your mind or anything like that, because it's basically like if you just took a Steam Deck, cut the screen off, and then glued the two sides together, you get the trackpads, you get the back buttons, you get the bumpers, the joysticks, the triggers, the D-pad, the face buttons, the Steam button, the start and select. Every button that's on your Steam Deck will make its way over to this controller, and it's kind of been going quiet ever since they finished that little 3D render that they included in an update on the Steam backend until now, because the controller finally has a glyph. It's an interesting little glyph because they focus on the joystick instead of the D-pad, and there's only one joystick on it, but I see people reading into this a lot, saying maybe they've updated the design to be more like the Steam Controller 1, which famously had one joystick, but I think they're just being cute, because if it's the Steam Controller 2, they can call back to it with this little glyph. I'd bet like $100 that what we've seen is what we're going to get, though, just because it's a great design for a controller. Everyone mocks the fact that the D-pad and the face buttons are above the joysticks, but once you actually, wait, is that how it's set up? Yeah. Everyone mocks things like, you know, the joysticks being up high and symmetrical and being inside the face buttons and the D-pad, but once you actually hold a Steam Deck, it's like a litmus test, right? Like if people complain about it, you know they've never held a Steam Deck, because once you get it in your hands, you're like, oh, this feels nice. So having that in a light controller would be excellent, and it would just be a cool little package to have a Valve designed PC that runs SteamOS out of the box, gets boutique updates that also come along with a controller that works great on your TV, but could be sold separately to work well on your Steam Deck or your other gaming PC. Hell, they might even ship drivers for it to work with the PS5 or something like that. But the one thing I really hope they improve on it from the Steam Deck is the rumble, because on the Steam Deck it's there. Even if you turn it up all the way, though, it's just like completely borderline non-existent, so they have to address that. But they've got a lot more space inside this thing to work with, to add a battery, and of course, you know, all the internals, because they're ripping out the motherboard and the screen from the Steam Deck. So I am holding out hope. It's very clear, though, that the success of the Steam Deck has lit a bit of a hardware fire within Valve, where like they have enough people working on hardware at any given time. The fact that they're working on a new controller that's definitely not made for a VR headset, because it's not a, like, you know, VR controller where you have one in each hand, and they're working on a new console and a new controller at the same time alongside the Steam Deck 2. It looks like they're here to stay in the world of hardware. I just wish they gave some more hints, right? Like, it's weird that they let this stuff get out to the public, even though you have to do a little bit of work to find it. I'm sure they're aware that stuff is shipping in the files. They're a company made up of some of the smartest people in the world, basically. So like, if something's getting out there, it feels like they're throwing a little bone to everyone to let them know they're working on something in lieu of just talking to people. I know the way they operate is they're very secretive, right? Like, when they're ready to show something off, they'll fly Linus out, they'll fly everyone but me out, they'll let them try it early, they'll let them get their hands on it, create their content, give them a couple of days to do it so they can nip and tuck everything so it's perfect, and then everyone will release their videos at the same time, and the views will be a complete bloodbath like it is with every single product launch on YouTube. But you know, they could start teasing it. There's definitely a demand for a higher powered Steam Deck out there right now. It's one of the biggest things people ask for in my comments, and the mental torture they all go through, it seems like every day, is like, should I buy the Steam Deck now, or should I wait 2 years potentially for the Steam Deck 2? So like, I get that you would make it a little bit harder for them if you said they're working on a Steam Deck 2, but just some more assurance that you are working on more hardware would be appreciated. And a lot of people are acting like it's so difficult to pull off a Steam Deck console, but like, I made one. I built a Bazite PC that has an AMD GPU and CPU. It's great. I have no issues with it. It's so cool that Bazite lets you update the exact same way as the Steam Deck. You just go to settings, update. Everything can be done in game mode. You never really have to go to desktop mode if you don't want to. The whole thing is navigatable by a controller. I use a DualSense Edge. It syncs with Bluetooth with the PC perfectly. You get all the great features like TDP control and frame limiting and X, Y, and Z. You can access your friends list. You can message people. You can access the Steam store. Everything you'd want to be there is there, which is awesome right out of the gate. And that's right now. I know Bazite isn't technically SteamOS, and raise your hand if you just learned that it's in Fedora and not Arch Linux. But like, they're really basically the same. The only reason I didn't know that is because if you showed someone Bazite and you showed someone SteamOS and said which one's SteamOS and which one's Bazite, they would probably be stumped because they're so damn similar. Like, they're basically the same thing. One just has a few extra features. So really the only thing Valve has to do is get the hardware and figure out how to get it into a console-sized chassis. But they've done this multiple times. They had the Steam machines back in the day with the original version of SteamOS, and YouTubers like Linus have bought Steam consoles that never made it to mass market, and they do look really cool in their little console-sized boxes. I would imagine they'll make sure that it's a pretty solid APU. I don't think we're going to see a discrete graphics card in anything like this, just because they've got to keep it cost competitive with something like the PlayStation 5, the Series X, and the Switch 2. Kind of. It's not really the same. It's a handheld, but like, you know, in that $500 to $800 windows where they've got to sit comfortably, it would be awesome to see it support FSR 4 out of the gate, but it seems like everything is in the right spot. They just need to take the step forward and start talking about it and eventually release it. So seeing things like them building in little glyphs for the Steam Controller 2 into SteamOS, it gets me excited. I hope the Steam Frame is announced this year, because now it's just like been teased so much that I just want to see it. Like, you know, you can't trademark something and not announce it. You just got to announce it, Valve. Like, get me excited for VR again. Help me waste my money. But yeah, that's the update on the Steam Console 2. Let's get into the second news story here, because Sony, weirdly enough, despite working on their own handheld right now, are coming back to the Steam Deck to make their games run even better than they did before. The game we're talking about is Ghost of Tsushima. This is an awesome open world third-person action game. The sequel, Ghost of Yotei, just came out. It works great on PS5. It's like one of the best uses of PSSR I've ever seen. The ray tracing is excellent on the Pro. I really enjoyed the game so far, but I still like Ghost of Tsushima just a little bit more. I think Jin Sakai is a great character, and one of the weirder things about the Steam Deck version is that the multiplayer doesn't work. So like, if you boot the game up, you can play the single player mode just fine, but if you try to start the Legends mode, which is like a 3-person action RPG with a raid at the end, it just straight up won't work. And I was wondering if Sony would kind of go back and add the correct netcode and anti-cheat or whatever they have to add to get that up and running on the Steam Deck, but it looks like they took the harder path and it resulted in a better version of the single player game. So the first thing they've done is split off the multiplayer. It's like optional DLC now if you're playing on the Steam Deck. So if you download Ghost of Tsushima on your deck, it's going to be smaller because you can uncheck that DLC and just download the single player. But what that gave them is the ability to verify the game, because if you don't have the multiplayer that doesn't work and you meet all the other criteria like this game does, you're good. You get the check mark, which is very coveted by all these big publishers like Sony, Square Enix, Capcom, and everyone else. So that's good. But they also took an extra step and gave it a Steam Deck graphics preset, which seems to be around low and medium, basically where you end up with if you left it at default before. But for people out there who, like, you know, they play on PC once in a while, they don't want to dig into settings or anything like that, they just want to open a game up and play it, having a good Steam Deck preset right out of the box is awesome. And I posted about this on my X account, deck_ready, if you want to follow it. I really appreciate it. But it seems like Valve is doing a little bit of outreach right now to developers to let them know that, like, verification matters. We just talked about a couple videos ago how you can make a Steam Deck landing page for your game if it is verified. You can show it off, add the store page, make it look really nice with the Steam Deck outside of the game's trailer in the middle. We've seen a lot of Steam Deck native builds coming out, like Chronos the New Dawn, Baldur's Gate 3, and a few others. And now we're seeing a lot more games either launch with or get patched to have Steam Deck graphics presets, like Ninja Gaiden 4, which is not Unreal Engine 5. That's a correction from my video on it. I assume because Ninja Gaiden Black 2 was Unreal Engine 5, this game was as well. It's Platinum's custom engine, so that's why it runs so well. Not an Unreal Engine 5 win, but that's okay. And now you've got Ghost of Tsushima with the Steam Deck graphics preset, so it's very clear that either some outreach is happening, or maybe, as someone pointed out on my X in my replies, like, you know, maybe developers notice that the Windows version of the Legion Go S just runs a lot worse than the Steam OS version, and maybe they're not happy that Xbox is abandoning their console ecosystem completely for the next generation, so they're kind of picking a side, right? Like, they see Xbox kind of making new waves in the handheld world, and they're like, well, it seems like people prefer the Steam Deck, so we're going to start supporting that more. Either way, I don't know what's happening. I don't have inside sources, but I'm just glad it is happening because it's awesome seeing the Steam Deck, which is a relatively small ecosystem, getting all of this support. I think that's what really matters at the end of the day. So yeah, it came along with a pretty big patch. Make sure you go into your game properties and go down to DLC and uncheck the multiplayer Legends mode because it'll save you some space on your SSD. I can't imagine Ghost of Yotei is too far off on PC. It seems like people are really liking it. I think it's cool. So yeah, hopefully that one launches and runs well on the Steam Deck and also has, you know, a Steam Deck graphics preset, because that really does go a long way. Anyway, guys, that's all I've got for you in today's video. As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching and shape on.